10 people, mostly students, were killed when a teenage classmate armed with a shotgun and a revolver opened fire in a Texas high school on Friday, the latest deadly school shooting to hit the United States. The gunman, arrested on murder charges, was identified as Dimitrios Pagortis, a 17-year-old junior at Santa Fe High School. He is being held on capital murder charges, meaning he could face the death penalty. Governor Greg Abbott said 10 people died and another 10 were wounded in one of the most heinous attacks that we've ever seen in the history of Texas schools. Abbott told reporters in Santa Fe, located about 50 kilometers southeast of Houston, that nothing can prepare a parent for the loss of a child. Abbott said the gunman apparently carried out the attack with a shotgun and a .38 revolver that were legally owned by his father. The Houston Chronicle said Pagortis also threw pipe bombs into a classroom at the start of the school day. But with gun reform a divisive issue in the United States, Abbott focused on the need to better address mental health concerns and to arm schools rather than call for limits on the proliferation of weapons. At dusk, hundreds of people, including many children, turned out for a candlelight vigil as the community sought to cope with the tragedy. People prayed and sang Amazing Grace, tears streaming down some faces. There were hugs and dogs providing emotional support. Abbott said searches were being conducted at 2 residences and explosive devices had been found, including a CO2 device and a Molotov cocktail. He said journal entries by the gunman suggested he wanted to commit suicide, but he gave himself up. Abbott said there were no warning signs about the suspect, who had no criminal record, although he did post a picture on his Facebook page of a t-shirt with words "Born to Kill" on it. Law enforcement authorities were questioning 2 people of interest, the governor said. One may have certain information, and the other had some suspicious reactions. Harris County Sheriff Ed Gonzalez said most victims were students. Era Hospital said 2 victims were in critical condition. One of the wounded was a police officer, John Barnes, who engaged the gunman and was shot on the elbow, officials said. The shooting was the latest in what has become an all-too-familiar situation in American schools, where gun violence has become a part of everyday life, part of a broader toll taken by firearms, which are responsible for more than 30,000 gun-related deaths annually in the U.S. Earlier this year, 17 people were killed at Marjorie Douglas Stoneman High School in Parkland, Florida, a massacre that prompted survivors to launch a grassroots campaign against gun violence that led to the largest gun reforms rallies in nearly 2 decades. Friday's was the second mass shooting in Texas in 6 months. Abbott, the Texas governor, said he would convene roundtable discussions to look into ways of preventing such mass shootings in the future. President Donald Trump expressed sadness and heartbreak over the shooting and ordered U.S. flags to fly at half-staff for the next few days. The shooting erupted before 8 a.m. as the first classes of the day were starting. The Santa Fe shooting came 3 months after the Florida massacre led to mass protests and their call of never again. Former Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton urged lawmakers to take action. Tucked away in the picturesque German city of Ludwigsburg, a tiny team of investigators tracks the last surviving Nazi war criminals across the globe and through the better part of a century in an urgent race against time. We put together the smallest pieces of information, like the pieces of a puzzle, to work out who was employed in what role from when until when in Adolf Hitler's totalitarian killing machine, says prosecutor Jens Rommel. He has since 2015 led the 8-strong Central Office for the investigation of National Socialist crimes at a time when the last perpetrators, accomplices, witnesses, and survivors are finally vanishing.
Der jüngste Beschuldigte, der für uns in Betracht kommt, ist jetzt 91 Jahre alt. Das heißt, keiner ist jünger als 91 Jahre und da rechnen wir in den nächsten Jahren schon damit, dass es immer weniger werden, die wir noch als lebend ermitteln können.
Once all the perpetrators are gone, Germany will close the judicial side of its coming to terms with the Nazi government's extermination of 6 million Jews and hundreds of thousands of others in the Holocaust. In the meantime, the spectacle of frail defendants aged in their 90s appearing in courtrooms to answer for crimes dating back to 1945 or earlier has renewed vigorous debate about the country's dark history. For decades after the war, the German government and the justice system showed little haste to track down many of those involved in the organized mass murder. A landmark change came with the 2011 sentencing of John Demjanjuk, who served as a guard at the Sobibor extermination camp in occupied Poland in 1943 to 5 years in prison. The ruling opened the way to prosecuting anyone who worked at a concentration camp, from soldiers to accountants, as an accomplice in mass murder. The team's probes into the dust-shrouded past have taken Rommel's team of 5 prosecutors, 2 judges, and 1 police officer across the world in search of their queries. Many German Nazis fled to South America immediately after the war, among them one of the main architects of the Holocaust, Adolf Eichmann, who landed in Buenos Aires. He was captured by the Israeli Secret Services in 1960 thanks to information passed on by German prosecutor Fritz Bauer, who was outraged by the inching progress of his own country's justice system. The team's travels halfway around the globe at a time when there remains no chance of tracking down a living, high-ranking Nazi official have not escaped criticism in the press, such as from Die Welt Daily, over the sometimes exorbitant cost.
Wenn man jemanden sucht, muss man schauen, wo hat die Person überhaupt einmal gelebt, wo ist sie geboren, wer hat eine Spur, was aus ihr nach dem Krieg geworden ist. Und dann muss man zum Teil von einer Meldebehörde zur nächsten wandern, um zu schauen, wo die Person jetzt lebt. Also es ist ein bisschen Puzzlearbeit, ein bisschen Detektivarbeit.
By 2012, some 6,498 people had been convicted for their part in the Holocaust. The monumental weight of history is clear from the smell of aged paper lingering behind the security doors of the former women's prison where the investigation team is based. From Hitler to the lowliest soldier or helper, every Nazi wrongdoer identified up until the present day is recorded here, along with the places of their crimes.
Ob es zu spät ist, darüber kann man sich natürlich streiten und es lässt sich auch diskutieren, ob es noch einen Sinn macht, das wird ja durchaus auch diskutiert, einen über 90-Jährigen zur Anklage zu bringen. Aber ich glaube, da sind wir uns alle einig, das sind wir der Geschichte schuldig.
Mamoru Hosoda is one of the greats of Japanese animation, whose films like The Boy and the Beast and The Girl Who Leapt Through Time are seen as modern classics. But he admits he wasn't the greatest father in the world to his first child, and his wife told him so. As he premiered his charming movie Mirai, My Little Sister at the Cannes Film Festival, Hosoda shared that when he was working on The Boy and the Beast, his son was born and he was hardly at home, so he had to rely on his wife a lot.
一人目の時はつまりね化け物の子を作っている時はですけども、あの映画のテーマっていうのはどうやったら父親になれるのか、父親になるなり方がよくわからないっていう映画だったかもしれないですけども、今回の映画はやっぱりそこからちょっとね進んでるかもしれないですね。やっとその自覚が芽生えて父親になれるかな、でもまだ新米だなみたいな。そのぐらいの感じなのかもしれません。
He shares that his wife still says that she brought his son up on her own and asked if he will be the same for their second child. This statement made Hosoda change his mind.
意味で子供と一緒に過ごすってことがすごく自分にとって大きなことだなと思います。それはその、人の親として大きなことでももちろんあるし、映画監督としてもすごくこれは大きな体験だなと思うんです。もちろん作家っていうのはいろいろあるんで、別にその子供がいようがなんだろうが別にその創作には関係ない人もいるかもしれない。でも僕はものすごくそういう身近なところから影響を受ける。
The result is Mirai, an often hilarious study of overstretched parents and toddler temper tantrums that came out of the time Hosoda tried to work at home after the birth of his daughter.
親たちが出るシーンがあって、親たちが本音を言うシーンっていうのはいくつかあるけども、そういうところもすごくそういう親の本音の気持ちを子供にも分かってほしいと思って嘘がないように 書きたいと思う、そういうところが大人の人にもなんていうのかな、この映画を味わってもらえる一つのポイントなのかもしれませんね。
Indeed, the antics of the film's 4-year-old hero, Kun, who is sent into a spiral of jealousy by the arrival of his little sister, will ring bells with most parents, as will the strains parenthood can put on couples as the architect father agrees to work from home, while the busy executive mother tries to make up for lost time at work. Failing completely to balance the household chores, the father further irritates his wife by pretending to be the perfect new man in front of their admiring neighbors. Trying not to fight in front of the children is one thing, but we should not lie to them either, Posada believes.
本を読ませろっていうふうに毎日主にお母さんが読んでるんですけども、僕も一緒に寝ることがある時には読むんです。でもね、その本が尽きる時があって、図書館から借りた、そういう時にはお手手本ってやるんですよ。お手手をページみたいに開いて、そこでくんちゃんはある時こんな風なことをしましたみたいなね、なんとなくそれを口から出まかせの物語を読んで聞かせるっていう機会がね、それは子供に強いられるんですよね。やらなきゃいけない、何か思いつかなきゃいけないっていう、お父さんお母さんの役割も変化してるし、日本ってとっても諸外国に比べて古めかしいように思われるかもしれないですけども、そういう中でもやっぱりすごく自分の身の回りではもっとリベラルに変化しているようなところもあるなっていうふうに感じるから映画にしてるんだと思いますね。
Up next, tensions emerge at WADA meeting over Russia's suspension. Dozens feared dead as Cuba airliner crashes on takeoff. Belgian singer dies just days after making a comeback. Eagle News Canada will return in a moment.
The machine is back at it. Guns N' Roses, not in this lifetime tour.
Welcome to the jungle.
The rock spectacle of 2018 comes to the Philippines. November 11th, 2018 at Philippine Arena, Bulacan. Quick sale for Fan Club members on June 8th, 10 a.m. to 11:59 p.m. Public on sale June 9, 10 a.m. Don't miss Guns N' Roses. Brought to you by MMI Live and Prestige Worldwide.
Welcome to the garden. A world that brings you back to that natural, carefree feeling of joy and happiness. A place where art becomes your song to strengthen bonds. Creating your moments, kindling your passion, worth reliving over and over. A world that recaptures the value of life. Breathe. This is your world, your life, your garden.
Landmarks, Linggo, alas 6 hanggang alas 7 ng gabi.
Welcome back. You are watching Eagle News Canada. The first signs of divisions within the World Anti-Doping Agency emerged with officials aligned to the Olympic movement questioning the body's ongoing sanctions against Russia's tarnished drug testing regime. WADA suspended the Russian anti-doping agency in 2015 after declaring it to be non-compliant following revelations of a vast Moscow-backed scheme to avoid drug testers.
The non-compliance issue that is on the table is related to their decision to organize their world championships in Russia, and that's what is on the table, and that is being discussed by the executive committee and the CRC.
Officials from the Global Anti-Doping Watchdog's Executive Committee said the suspension remained in place, noting that Russia had failed to fulfill the criteria set by WADA required to reverse the sanction.
Well, I hope it is a game changer. We've been exchanging correspondence now for what, Libby, the best part of a year and a half. There have been many different variations of the words. I think this one is probably the most encouraging one.
A WADA report by Canadian lawyer Richard McLaren accused Russian authorities of running an elaborate doping program with the full support of the Russian Ministry of Sport and the Russian Secret Service, or FSB. The Russian officials have concluded that their doping system failed, but have refused to acknowledge claims of institutional involvement. One official said that tensions had flared at the executive committee meeting over how the Russia case was being handled. When asked about the condition of the anonymity, one official said that the discussions were strained because the sports movement is pushing for a lifting of the sanctions. Participants at the WADA's Foundation Board meeting also aired misgivings about the ongoing RUSADA suspensions. A Cuban State Airways plane with more than 100 people on board crashed shortly after taking off from Havana on Friday, leaving a mass of twisted and smoldering fuselage, as the country's president warned many people were feared dead. Lou Aquino with the details.
Mexico's government said the plane carried a Mexican crew. Cuban state media reported that 3 people had been pulled alive from the mangled wreckage and were in critical condition in the hospital. There was no other official mention of survivors from a nearly 40-year-old Boeing 737 operated by Cubana de Aviacion, which crashed into a field close to a wooded area near Havana's Jose Marti Airport, sending a thick column of acrid smoke into the air. The plane, carrying 104 passengers, was almost completely destroyed in the crash and subsequent fire, which was put out by firefighters who raced to the scene along with a fleet of ambulances. Emergency personnel combed through the wreckage, lending little hope that there could be other survivors. What appeared to be one of the wings of the plane was wedged among scorched tree trunks, but the main fuselage was almost entirely destroyed. Cuba's President Miguel Diaz-Canel, who went to visit the scene, said that there was a large number of casualties. The president said 9 crew members were believed to have been on board, but he was unsure if they had been included in the total of 104 passengers. The 58-year-old president, who succeeded Raul Castro as the island's leader only last month, appeared aghast as he surveyed the recovery efforts, wearing a short-sleeved green shirt and surrounded by officials. Mexico's government said the plane was built in 1979 and had a crew of 5 Mexicans, the pilot, co-pilot, and 3 flight attendants. It was leased to Cubana de Aviacion from a Mexican firm, Aerolíneas de Moch, and has successfully undergone inspections in November last year, the Mexican Ministry of Communication and Transportation said. Airport sources said the plane took off at 12:08 p.m., heading for the eastern city of Holguin, 670 kilometers away. From the supermarket where he works near the airport, Jose Luis, 49, said he could see the plane taking off before it banked and plunged into the ground. State television said the airliner was operated by a foreign crew but gave no details. Images from Cuban television showed rescue workers at the scene removing what appeared to be a survivor on a stretcher as rain began to fall. Prior to Friday's crash, Cuba's last air accident occurred in April 2017. 8 military personnel died when a Russian-made AN-26 transport aircraft went down in western Cuba. The country's last major airline disaster was in November 2010, when a Cuban Aero-Caribbean airliner crashed while on a flight from Santiago de Cuba to Havana, killing all 68 people on board, including 28 foreigners. In July 1997, an Antonov 24-passenger plane crashed into the sea off Santiago de Cuba. All 44 aboard were killed, including 2 Brazilians and 2 Spaniards. In March 2002, a small Antonov 2 plane traveling from Cienfuegos to Cayo Coco crashed in the central province of Santa Clara. All 16 people aboard, among them 6 Canadian tourists, 4 Britons, and 2 Germans were killed. For Eagle News, I am Lou Aquino, 1/25.
Popular Belgian singer Moraine has died at the age of 57, just days after returning to the stage following an absence of more than 2 years prompting an outpouring of emotion from the French-speaking music world. Lynn Espiritu with more.
Moran, real name Claudine Loy-Pertz, was found dead at home in Brussels around 8 p.m. on Monday, according to the Belgian Federal Prosecutor's Office. It said it had begun an investigation, but that foul play was not suspected. Moran shot to fame in the late 1980s in the sci-fi rock opera Starmania and had a string of French-language hits before putting her career on hold in 2015 because of problems with her vocal cords, according to Belgian news agency Belga. She announced a return to performing last week and took to the stage at an open-air festival in Brussels at the weekend, singing hits by legendary mournful Belgian crooner Jacques Brel.
C'est une femme tellement merveilleuse, tellement drôle. J'ai beaucoup ri avec elle. Là, elle me fait beaucoup pleurer, mais j'ai beaucoup ri. C'était une femme, l'une des plus belles voix du monde, sinon la plus belle. Ce timbre unique. Cette émotion unique aussi. Vraiment, j'aurais aimé qu'on l'aime encore plus de son vivant. Voilà ce que je pense.
Merci, madame.
French musician Catherine Lara told Europe One Radio she was devastated by the death of her friend of 40 years, saying she had seemed tired when they last met 3 weeks ago.
Un personnage qui m'a tellement apporté, qui m'a tellement donné et à qui je dois le maximum.
Moran released 11 albums in a recording career that began in 1980 and had been preparing to tour next year after the new Brel album, which was due in the autumn to commemorate the 40th anniversary of his death. A spokesman for the prosecutor's office told that they were waiting for an initial report of the death before deciding whether an autopsy was needed. There was no intervention by a third party, the spokesman said, ruling out any criminal involvement. For Eagle News, I'm Lynn Espiritu and I'm 1 with 25.
Up next, EBC's Kathleen Cruz gives us an update on the royal wedding. Eagle News Canada will return shortly.
Delicious.
I'm Wendell Garcia. Join me as I rediscover the joys of living here in the Philippines.
Oh my God!
Travel through taste. Discover your next adventure as we take you on our tasty travel.
Want some more?
What's he doing?
But he can't.
Look at him. It's just not done.
Please, sir, I want some more.
More? More?
More? Please, sir.
He has asked for more!
Thank you.
What?
Well, he did say please. Sir?
Yes, he did. And thank you.
Yeah, and thank you.
He's a wonderful boy. I do like the boy.
Please. And thank you. Pass it on.
Thank you.
ASEAN in Focus.
Monday to Friday, 2 to 2:30 p.m.
This is Eagle News Canada. I am Arnie Aquino. EBC's Kathleen Cruz gives us an update on entertainment this week. Kathleen?
Happily ever after it is for American actress Meghan Markle, now called the Duchess of Sussex. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle tied the knot at Windsor Castle last Saturday, May 19, in front of the British royal family. More than 100,000 people packed in Windsor streets, and millions more who watched the broadcast of the royal wedding.
The new Duke and Duchess of Sussex exchanged vows in St. George's Chapel. Markle walked down the aisle alone with her little bridesmaids and page boys, including Princess Charlotte and Prince George walking behind her flowing white silk dress. Halfway down the aisle, she was escorted by Prince Charles to the altar. She wore a beautiful Givenchy dress from creative director Claire White Keller. Her simplicity and radiant look reflected her minimalist personality with beauty and grace. The groom and his best man and brother Prince William wore a blue doeskin frock coat uniform of a major in the Blues and Royals. Markle's mother, Doria Ragland, looked emotional and moved during the wedding, while her father, Thomas Markle, was unable to come due to a heart surgery. It is a historic royal wedding because it's a union of different cultures. Meghan's heritage was brought to the wedding, mixing British solemnity and African American culture, including a choir singing Stand By Me. It was also definitely a star-studded wedding with guests including George Clooney, James Corden, Oprah Winfrey, and Meghan's co-stars from U.S. television hit Suits. Football icon David Beckham, one of the guests, said, "What a proud day of our country today. Watching Harry as happy as he was makes us all proud of the man and person he has always been." Meghan's close friend, the actress Priyanka Chopra, said, "Every choice made at this wedding by you both will go down in history. Not just because it was your wedding, but because this incredible wedding stood for change and hope, both things that the world needs desperately." After the ceremony, the Duke and Duchess walk out the castle and pause on the steps of the chapel for a kiss. Then they waved in front of thousands of fans being carried in an open carriage. They later went to the lunchtime reception hosted by the Queen. An evening reception was also hosted for only 200 chosen closest friends and family.
Canadians, of course, wouldn't miss this kind of celebration. They join in by watching it live as early as 4 a.m. in Pacific Time and 7 a.m. Eastern Time across Canada. And to celebrate the union of Canada and United Kingdom, Canadian government will donate $50,000 to a charity focusing youth sport in celebration of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's wedding. Catch me again next week for the latest in entertainment. I am Kathleen Cruz for Eagle News Canada, and I am 1 with 25.
That is this week's Eagle News Canada. Join us next week for stories that matter to you. Visit our website at eaglenews.ph. Like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/eaglenewsph. Thank you for watching. I am Arnie Aquino. I am 1 with 25.